Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time this past week. You've been stuck in a hotel room with no TV, no internet, just to make sure that your mind doesn't get jaded with regards to anything you see on the press. We talked about first appearances. I also talked to you about the fragility of the criminal justice system, and I hope you can see why now. I don't know anything about the 16 of you, which 12 are going to be the actual jurors. Mr. Govan doesn't know. I don't know if you have kids, if you're rich, if you're poor, if you live in Orange Mountain, if you live in a nice part of Memphis. You see that? I'm from Atlanta. But all I have is trust in you because you said you are peers to Mr. Govan. Mr. Govan, stand up. Come sit at the table and let them see you. It's time you're not marginalized anymore. Sit there while I talk. The fragility of the system is solely based on you. I don't know in what world the prosecution is living in this case, because unless they were watching something in the multiverse where other witnesses were saying perfect things, I don't know why we're here. You all should be embarrassed as a community that your district attorney thinks this evidence is sufficient to take a man's life for first-degree murder. You should be embarrassed that this is the person you voted for that brings this type of case. Just embarrassed. Many of you said you had a problem with the criminal justice system because too many people go free or they get bond. What they don't tell you, what the government doesn't tell you and the press doesn't cover, is this is what happens when you don't have an advocate that knows what the hell they're doing, checks all the records, fights for you, and shows you that he didn't do it. That's just another black man that is of no value from Orange Mountain, that's poor, that has never had a voice in his life. I'm fixing that. My team is fixing that. He is indigent, he is poor, and he deserves better than he's gotten in this case. Sergeant Browning, who's the biggest liar that I'm going to go through with you, says we can't kidnap people and bring them in for questioning. What did Angela Arnold tell you? They threatened to have me arrested being involved in this case if I didn't talk to them. We went to the airport and we figured he was going to assert his rights, so okay. What about the second guy, Mr. Sears? His lawyer said he wasn't in town. When you talk about accessories and all this other stuff that the judge has told you about, how about the people that helped hide them? How about the people that helped give him new clothes? How about the people that gave him medical treatment, assuming they were even shot? Because you know what? I don't even know if he was shot, and I don't even know for a fact if that was the Mercedes used in the murder. Because why? There was no blood in the Mercedes. Had there been any blood to back up what Cornelius was saying, they would have plastered it front and center to you. Their own lieutenant from crime scene that they did not call tells you no one wiped that car with bleach because luminol or the other star thing, whatever it was, would show that. And if somebody said, I poured bleach on a towel and I wiped that car down, they would be lying. I don't know what world we live in. None of you would buy a pack of gum based on the word of Cornelius Smith. You wouldn't do it because he's a lying piece of so-and-so that will do anything. Lie to his pretend grandmother, his family, his girlfriend, anybody. And I'm going to prove it to you as we're going to go through a few more slides. And Detective Browning may even be worse because that's just pure evil, trying to put people in prison based on shaded evidence. Dabney told you the truth, that we didn't do all this other stuff that we should have done. We didn't get around to it, was his quote. He wasn't happy about it, but he told me the truth. The other guy couldn't answer a yes-no question. It was always dodge and deflect, which is what they're taught to do as part of their training when they go and come and testify. These are the people that are policing your streets. You should be ashamed. The only crime that's being committed here today is in this courtroom. It's been committed for the last 3 days. This poor man will never get his life back because of what's happened. He's been threatened because they all think he's involved in the young Dolph murder and everybody loves Dolph. Dolph has been threatened for years. He moved away from Memphis 5 years ago. He had 3 old bullets in his body from other times he'd been shot at by people, being in Charlotte, being in Los Angeles. Everybody knew there was a price on his head. There is no plan. There is no plan. I tell you why? Because if I made a plan and I go back to my house across the street with the murder car? Are you freaking kidding me? And then they go ahead and call around to see where can we go to get changed. We are across the street from the guy that planned the murder. We don't go to his house to change clothes, but we ride around town until somebody picks up the phone, as you see from the records, and we go to 2-lane while we're bleeding and doing everything else. Have you seen a single photo of Angel Arnold's car, the Mercedes, or anything that had a drop of blood in it, as if they said? Cornelius is a pathological liar. I don't even know if he got shot on that day, because you have to ask yourself. There is a bullet lodged in his shoulder, as he told you. For a freaking month, he didn't get infected. He didn't have a problem. He just put some bandages on it and it was okay. Please, for the love of God, this is insane that I even have to talk to you about this. If this is what is sufficient evidence for first-degree murder, we're all in trouble because you're going to be next. Assault, all these charges they gave you. There's 15 different ways they're trying to convict this guy. I didn't assault anybody. He didn't assault anybody. He didn't aggravated assault anybody. He didn't solicit anybody. He didn't facilitate anybody. He didn't act at whatever age anybody. It didn't happen. All the text messages, all the phones, everything that showed you. Have you seen one single message from Justin Johnson or Cornelius Smith that says, "Hey, bro, let's go shoot somebody"? I gave you tons of messages over their objection where Justin Johnson is talking to other people, talking about killing people. They weren't discreet about it. Where is a single message to Govan from any of these people over the course of 4 months that says, we're going to do this? Can we get your permission? We're going to give you $10,000 or $38,000 or $50,000 or $100,000 or $1.5 million. You think if they would have had it, they wouldn't have shown it to you? They know the truth is the text messages are only about music because he's friends with Justin. I'm sorry Justin's not a nice guy. They all live in the same neighborhood. They've all known each other. Just because you have, quote, communication doesn't mean you're in a conspiracy to kill someone. Cornelius. Let's go over the slides. This will speak for itself, and I'll let you think about it because I've hammered the point about didn't prove it. I don't need you to say he didn't do it if you don't want to, but they absolutely, for God's sakes, didn't prove it. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so, excuse me, Deputy. So you see this, what the government says? Angel Arnold's phone? Absolutely. This is Star Defense Exhibit number 1. This C, bruh, assuming C is Cornelius. Send me bruh number so I can get my phone, right? He needs to get his phone. Next slide. Quez's number. Guess what he told you is the one honest thing he said. His brother's freaking name is Marquez Smith. They call him Quez. His brother is the one that got the phone at best. You know why? Because they had TBI Gardner up here. They asked him to do location data analysis on the phone, right? You guys remember all that? And they did it solely for Cornelius' phone, and they did it for Justin's phone. But yet, they didn't show you any location analysis. All they have to do is say, it's in that general area, this is where the tower's being. Because calls are being made. Where was this call from? Where was his brother Quest? They just BS you constantly, and here I am fighting for this man's life. He is your peer. You need to be here protecting him from this. This is the crime. Next slide. So I'll just go over a few things on Cornelius Smith. I think that was pretty obvious from his statement. Go ahead, Robert. I think all this is obvious. You got a sociopath on your hands that's out there on his daughter's birthday. Is he intoxicated? Is he not intoxicated? Just ask the prosecutor to tell you a straight answer, honestly. Do you even think the prosecution would take advice from Cornelius Smith on anything? But it's good enough for this poor man's life. My dad used to tell me, you know how somebody's honest? Would you loan them money? Raise your hands if you're going to loan Cornelius money. Because that's the crux of the whole case. And a bunch of BS cell phone records that don't tell you anything. Because they didn't do the location analysis. They can't give you a single text message that says we agree to do anything. And we know it was at least 4 months between the so-called meeting between multiple shootings that Cornelius did and when Justin went out. Next. And if you're not biblical, I'm sorry, but growing up that way, it's just used to be told the truth never changes. You don't need to remember it. You don't need to practice it. Why were we meeting with prosecutors and the lawyer just an hour before? I don't want a deal. I'm just here out of the goodness of my heart. I'm going to get a mandatory life sentence. Insane. Next. We also showed you the letters from Cornelius that he sent to his sister saying, I've got that lawyer that you paid for. It's this guy's lawyer, and that guy cooperated against somebody else and walked from a murder. That's what you have in black and white in Cornelius' own handwriting. And that is what all of you said when I said, what would you do to avoid a life sentence? You guys said, probably anything. All right. We know this to be true. Next. And we know all this to be true. Next. And we all know this didn't happen. It just didn't happen. His story just didn't happen. And both he and Angela said it. Because, remember, he had talked to his family to go see Angela between the 14th of December, her first statement where she didn't know nothing about nothing, and the 17th of December when she's decided. And note how they have to prompt her to ask, could it be somebody with the name Q? And note, they had to ask her, didn't he forget something? Didn't he tell you something that he might have forgotten or something that he needed? They had to prompt her. This is 30 days after that. You don't have to remember the truth. This was the biggest day in somebody's life, you would think. I just killed Dolph. I'm running around, and she can't remember who the guy was that picked up the stuff at pressure room. Oh, shocker. There's a few cameras at pressure room. They had the absurdity to tell you, well, do you know how long the camera might be working or how long it records? You know how to find that out? Maybe go there and ask them. We've had Ring cameras and other things like that for a decade. It always goes to the cloud, and most likely it's going to be preserved for a year or so, which is what most businesses would do, especially in a dangerous part of town. And guess what? You have those crazy MPD cameras everywhere. If you drive home, you'll see them. It's got the little blue thing coming out of it. I've showed you some of those from right around the area. Nobody checked any of them. You don't have to take my word for any of it, because everything I'm going to tell you is going to be backed up by independent evidence. You don't have to trust me for anything. You don't know me. But I want independent proof before I get in bed with a murderer with a machine gun that shot a guy 20 times in broad daylight, and thank God he didn't kill anybody else in that cookie shop. And this is who they're in bed with. Next. All right. Sorry, I just have to calm myself down. The other things with the shenanigans, as they try to tell you, is when the officer accidentally said, I don't even know if it was Justin something, I think he said that, but he said, AKA Dolph, I'm sorry, not Dolph, Brock, in that. And Mr. Cornelius says, yeah, I met him through miscellaneous in a moment of weakness. And you know, when I asked about it, how you smiled. You have murdered somebody, and we're up here chuckling. The government's chuckling with him, and he's laughing at me, making smirky faces, and says, I saw you on TV. That's the behavior you want from a guy that took a machine gun and murdered people. In fact, his definition is, I didn't shoot that many people because sometimes we didn't get the shots off or the gun yet. And you're going to make a deal, not a single text message anywhere, take my word for it. And oh, by the way, I think he's a federal snitch, but I don't know if I believe that or not, because he's never snitched on me. All right, next. And then he also tells Uncle Ron, maybe we should have gone and talked to him, whoever Uncle Ron is, yeah, but I'm not a policeman, and I'm not trying to put anybody in prison, that there was a bug on him, that he's a snitch, and so you're going to have to plan a big old murder. Next slide. So we know he paid for his lawyer, and we know that was a team issue, and you know the absurdity of the prosecutor in their last statement. They're going to get to go up again and call me every kind of name in the book, which is fine. I can handle it. I will take those arrows for this man that I've grown to care about over the last year and a half, because he didn't do it. they had the audacity to tell you we can't indict somebody that's dead. Jook died 2.5 years after all this happened. Remember, Justin Johnson was indicted in December of 2021, about a month after this happened. Cornelius was indicted in January of 2022, about a month and a half after this happened. There is no investigation done in 2023, or essentially 2024. It was done. They indicted and gotten who they wanted. So at some point you got to ask yourself, what happened here? And I have no idea, but it's not my burden to prove their screw-ups. If you believe Cornelius, he says Jook is the one that set it all up. His girlfriend says that. Then they backtrack and say, well, he was there and he set it up, being go there. None of it happened. Keep going. And with Miss Arnold, I don't know how you date a murderer that's been domestic violence me, stolen from me, done this. I don't know what her issues are. I fault her not. She's just doing what the man's telling her to do. They've had visits, they've talked about it, and her story is still iffy as far as that goes. And God bless her. I hope none of you would be with a essentially soon-to-be convicted murderer for 4 years after all this happened. Right, next. And the interesting thing there was, we keep talking about the car on Bradley. Bobby Carter also lives on Bradley, and Bobby Carter was involved in the shootings with Mr. Cornelius. And in fact, Angela says Bobby was involved in the Dolph shooting as well. Next. All right, we already know this as far as the jail calls and the family coming to see her. Next. And we also know about the varying amounts of money this whole thing was worth. So now we get to the meat and potatoes of a few things I want you to consider. Remember, the two pillars to this case is you got to believe Cornelius Smith, and the judge has told you over and over again, you have to have that agreement. You got to believe it's out there, otherwise nothing. They've come up with 15 different methods, from murder to second degree to 30. I don't care if it's 47th degree murder. None of this stuff happened. There's no assault. There's no solicitation. There's nothing. So let's talk about the detectives. Next slide, please. All right. So the Detective Browning, the all-powerful Detective Browning, told you that Govan last talked. Oh, I'm sorry, I got my slides mixed up. We know Dabney, who actually I respect and had a nice talk with. He said they didn't do it straight up. Didn't try to sugarcoat it. We just didn't do it. Didn't go to pressure roll to confirm anything this man was saying. Tells you straight up we didn't go to AutoZone. Tells you straight up there was no relevant evidence of AutoZone. So this mystical receipt that's all crumbling, you can't tell what it is. That's supposed to be some kind of evidence now. And they didn't get around to investigating Jook, who was on Team Cornelius or whatever you want to call it. At least he was honest enough to tell you that. Next. So these are the slides you saw yesterday with Detective Browning. And this is where the evil of it all comes in. He did these call detail records for you. And this slide cuts off at 11:16 at 3:01:17. Right? They stopped it right there. I've highlighted it for you. That was the slide. You might wonder, Manny, what's the big deal about that? It's just some phone call to somebody, no biggie, right? Yeah, he's talking to Cornelius here, no problem. But guess what? If they would have given you the full story on the slides where they're trying to bias you, next slide, you see, on the same 11:16 at 5:37:15, this is Jook's number, and he spent a 6-minute phone call. It's not on the slide. I had to pull that off the call data records that you're going to have a thumb drive. You will never find it or see it because there's thousands of pages of call information out there. But you see, this thing stops up there at 3 o'clock. They don't tell you this part. That Justin Johnson talked to Jook before the murder and also sent him a turkey emoji. If you are a law enforcement officer, your job is to investigate and the facts go where they may. You don't have a job to convict people. That is why I respect Dabney. He made a mistake, he owned it. Browning is a liar. Pathological liar through and through. Next slide. So I take this where Browning also told you that they last talked to Govan on November 5th. You remember an opening statement that told you Justin Johnson had not talked to Govan for at least 2 weeks prior to the murder. No communication whatsoever. But they try to tell you that, oh yeah, on November 5th, he must have talked to Govan. And then Cornelius last talked to Govan on November 15th. Just remember those. It was very specific that they argued. So let's go to the next slide. So what you'll see is, on November 5th of 2021, this is Govan's number, Hernandez Govan. He's getting a call from Justin Johnson. You see this? This is the communication they had on November 5th. How many seconds is that phone call? Let me break it down to you. Zeros. It never went through. There was no phone call for at least 2 weeks. No text messages. Nothing. And this is the guy I'm supposed to be planning a murder with the most famous person in Memphis. Are you kidding me right now? All right, next slide. So there's an old movie that said the tail wagging the dog. You've got Cornelius telling him what they want to say as he tells you he likes to do. And everything they're trying to do is back up what Cornelius says. There is no explanation why they didn't go talk to Joke or bring him down for questioning. There's none. There's none. All right, next slide. So just go through here. That's 10, 12 phones out there. Go through all of them. Find me a text message where a single human being tells Hernandez Govan, we need to do something that's evil, that's violent, that's criminal. Browning told you he just came up with these slides just a day or two before all this happened, because this is 4 years after the fact. And I'm seeing the slides for the first time. And the slides are complete BS because they keep misleading you about stuff. And so if the incriminating text existed, they would have showed them to you. They've cut off records in half so you can't see the rest of the story. Go to the next slide. We know he agreed with me that these text messages, there's thousands of them with Justin Johnson. It's about music because Justin was in videos and all that stuff and Govan was there. He was a colleague, a friend, whatever you want to call it. That doesn't make you a murder criminal. And we know he talked to Cornelius about pills. 14 communications is what they call it. What they don't tell you is how many of those 14 actually went through. What were the phone call codes? Remember, 11 is important because that goes to voicemail, or it could be two-way, or the call goes through properly. Is it a text message? I don't know. Last night I'm talking to my daughter just about her boyfriend. Between okay, yeah, no problem, I had 16 communications with my daughter in a span of like 3.5 minutes. It doesn't mean anything, and you can't presume you know what the communications are about if, in fact, for the love of God, they even went through. I've already shown you one bald-faced lie by the government right there. There was no call on November 5th. Keep going. So we have the turkey emoji, we have the 6-minute phone call, and you know this secretive plan, PRE, as his bodyguard told you, this is social media. They do this every year. This is what they do. Remember, he's a man of the community. They put it out there. Everybody knows they're doing turkey emojis every year. Most of you probably know about this. Next. All right. Skip this. Let's go to the next one. And then we have this. It's not anything I could get voluntarily out of that man. We had to press and press and press to show that Justin Johnson already knew Joe. Didn't need our guy to do any of it. That is why you will never see a single text message of any incriminating nature. Because I can promise you, had it said anything, a comma out of place, they would have it plastered up here on a board saying, see, we got him, we got him. Next. All right, so Garner, he said, MPD asked me to do what? Location analysis on a couple of phones, Justin's and Cornelius's. All you have to do is plug in a number on a computer. We could have done it. Hey, it's also pinging all pressure levels. Maybe more believable. Even if you choose not to go there, you could just ping it. You don't need the actual phone if you've gotten rid of it, because you can just order the CDRs from the phone company, as he told you. He did cell phone tower analysis for a very short amount of time, and then it just stops. Is this kind of investigation in Memphis we call sufficient to put somebody in prison for life? And none of the other phones were done. Where was Chuck? Hell, where was anybody else in this case? Right? All right, we've got this, so covered that. Go next. You've covered the AutoZone thing, and I just respectfully ask, if the audacity to put a crumpled receipt in front of you that you can't read and just say, Detective Brown, I just know this now. It is not mentioned in any police report anywhere. As I asked him, he couldn't answer the question. But now suddenly it shows up in the phone. We know Dabney knew this was garbage because they talked about the auto part from earlier. You can't put a date, time, place on it. It's all what they call red herrings to mislead you. Think there's something nefarious out there and just use your imagination to convict people. You would never let this happen if it was somebody you cared about when you saw this. Some of you might be supervisors. If this half-ass work is what they brought to your desk, you would fire that person immediately. And don't say you wouldn't, because you would, because it makes you look bad. This whole county is a freaking embarrassment with regards to this trial, and the whole world is watching, and this is what we've got. All right, next. And then the last thing is you got to ask, if I set up the plan, I don't know if I'm having the murder car come to my house. And if I am having the murder car come to my house, why don't people just come inside and change clothes there instead of riding around all over town trying to find a place to go change? And again, I know you may think I'm crazy, but there's no blood in that car. Was this even the right Mercedes as far as that goes that they got? You remember Treon Ingram and another gentleman had stolen that Mercedes a while earlier. Treon Ingram didn't come and testify because Treon Ingram picked up another murder right after that. Where did the blood go? Cornelius told you point blank, no ifs, ands, or buts, and girlfriend, I took bleach and I wiped it down. And the lieutenant from CSI with 28 years of experience says that just didn't happen. Where's Angela's car? Remember, she said he was bleeding all over. Where's the evidence of any of that? All right, next. So all I do is cross my hands and beg you guys, he is your peer. There is no evidence here. You would never accept what's happened in this courtroom in your own personal lives to make any decision of any kind. And he deserves that same respect. There is nothing here. They're going to get to come back up again. Remember, we talked about first impressions. You need to use your minds, your eyes, your ears, and your noses and call the sniff test BS on this whole thing that they're about to give you yet again. There's nothing here. There's no solicitation, there's no facilitation, there's no assault, there's no murder, there's not a text message, there's not a phone call worth a damn, and they aren't telling you the story. Make them tell you, why didn't we investigate Chuck? Make them tell you, why didn't we investigate all the people that helped these folks escape? And if you want to talk about conspiracy, how did he conspire or solicit Justin Johnson? Have you heard anything about that? Who's Jamarcus Johnson? Have you heard a single word out there? They're all together in a conspiracy. All you have is Cornelius' word. He's the linchpin of this whole case, and none of us would trust him. And we sure as hell wouldn't loan him money. And then we have phone records that actually exculpate. But if you make it all nefarious and have a sleazy detective get up there and talk about it, sounds pretty good. He didn't do it, but you don't have to take my word for it. He didn't prove it. If this case gets a conviction, then I just need to stop being a lawyer because the system is shot to hell. Thank you.